Hi, Kevin Lings, economist at Stanlib Asset Management. From our perspective, South Africa is really made up of two distinct different worlds. And unfortunately, those two worlds at the moment are quite far away from each other. On the one side, we've got a fairly healthy functioning financial system in South Africa, a superb banking system by global standards. In fact, recently the South African banks were ranked third in the world in terms of the soundness of their systems. We've got superb fiscal management from government side. We've got excellent monetary policy in terms of our ability to meet the inflation target and to therefore effectively maintain relatively low interest rates. Overall, I think we've done an excellent job in managing the macroeconomic environment of this country, certainly over the last 10 to 20 years. The unfortunate part is that we've got another world, and that world is a world in which high unemployment persists. We've got extreme income inequality, some suggesting that we've got the worst income inequality in the world. We've got relatively poor outcomes in terms of education. We've also got an extremely low and small tax base that struggles to meet the demands of the broader population. Under these circumstances, in order to deliver social services, and within that I include healthcare as a vital social service, it really is going to put increasing strain on the financial position of the country to be able to offer the type of health service that really the country needs and demands. How do we then marry these two worlds? How do we achieve better social delivery, but at the same time ensuring that the macroeconomic management of the country prevails? The answer from our perspective is really to look at job creation. Job creation becomes the number one and overriding economic objective for the country as a whole. So how do we go about creating jobs? From my perspective, there's really only one way, and that is we've got to raise the level of investment. By investment, we mean building roads, railways, harbors, airports, schools, hospitals, businesses. And there's clear evidence globally to show that the more you invest, the more jobs you create. So if we could find a way to raise our investment level from currently around 19% of GDP, which is very low by global standards, to up at around 25% or higher, it's evident that South Africa would be in a far better position to create sustainable employment. Once you create employment, many of the social tensions in South Africa would naturally start to dissipate. As each person is employed, that individual is in a better shape to provide for their own medical services, to provide for their own retirement benefits, to be educated within their employment environment, and to really address many of their social concerns that haven't effectively been dealt with over the last 20 years. So for me, the takeaway is that we've got to make employment and the achievement of ever-increasing employment numbers the number one economic objective in South Africa, which means we've got to make investment the number one objective. And that's investment from both the private sector, in terms of having very strong and healthy balance sheets, but also from the public sector in terms of delivering the social infrastructure that the country needs. It's critical that the public sector eliminates many of the infrastructure backlogs that the country is facing at the moment, particularly the backlog in terms of electricity, rail, port capacity. As we lift those backlogs, we're adamant that the private sector would be encouraged by those developments and start to undertake more investment. And as they increase their investment, so you would be able to employ more people. And if South Africa could find itself in a position where we were adding systematically 500,000 new jobs a year, that would change the social and economic fabric of this country. And once you create that positive momentum, it's very likely that it would become self-fulfilling. In other words, as you create your first 500,000 jobs, the opportunities to create a further 500,000 expand easily from that base. So to me, that's what we've got to make the number one objective. And I think many of the issues we currently debate vigorously in South Africa will systematically fade, and South Africa can deal with more pressing competitive issues and issues to do with how we sustain our competitive advantage within the African continent and globally.